So what you're going to need to make R2-D2 is a pair of embroidery scissors, one safety eye, this measures at 9mm, a 3.5mm hook, your embroidery needle, a set of pins and your yarn in grey, white and navy. So let's get started. So let's start with our grey yarn and our hook. I'm going to do a slip knot onto my hook and I'm going to do a magic ring. And I do this by chaining 2, or the equivalent of a magic ring, and I'm going to do 6 single crochet in the second chain from hook. I prefer doing a magic ring this way instead of the opposite way, only because it's a little bit tighter. So I'm going to do 6 single crochet into the second chain from hook. So that's 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 and 6. And so for the next row, we're not going to fasten off, we're going to just continue, and I'm going to do 2 single crochets into every stitch we just made. So we're going to double this round, it's an increase round, and we're going to go from 6 stitches to 12. So 2 stitches into every chain, every stitch beneath. So that's 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. So for the next round we're going to increase from 12 stitches to 18, and we're going to do this by increasing in every second stitch. So we're going to be increasing in multiples of 3. So we're going to single crochet 1 and 2 single crochet into the next stitch, 2 and 3, single crochet 1 into the next stitch, 4 and 2 single crochet into the following stitch, 5 and 6, 1 into the next stitch, 7, 2 into the following, 8 and 9, 1 into the next stitch, 10, 2 into the following stitch, 11 and 12, 1 into the next stitch, 13, 2 into the next stitch, 14 and 15, 1 into the next stitch, 16 and 2 into the last stitch, 17 and 18. So now on the next round we're going to increase from 18 to 24 stitches, and we're going to do this by increasing on all the multiples of 4. So into every third stitch we're going to do an increase. So we're going to go from 18 to 24. 1, 2, an increase for 3 and 4, 5 and 6, an increase for 7 and 8, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, an increase for 11 and 12, 11 and 12, 13 and 14, and an increase for 15 and 16, increase for 15 and 16, 17 and 18, increase for 19 and 20, 19 and 20, an increase for 21, to 21, 22, and an increase for 23 and 24 in our last stitch. So we've just increased from 18 to 24 stitches, and next we're going to increase from 24 to 30 stitches, and we're going to do this by increasing in every 4th stitch, so multiples of 5. So let's do that. So I'm going to single crochet 1 and 2 and 3, and increase in the next stitch for 4 and 5, single crochet 6 and 7 and 8, and increase in the next stitch for 9 and 10, so that's 9 and 10 in the same stitch, single crochet 11, 12, 12 and 13, and then increase in the next stitch for 14 and 15, then single crochet 16 and 17 and 18, and single crochet increase into the next stitch for 19 and 20, single crochet 21, 22, 23, and increase in the next stitch for 24 and 25, single crochet 26, 27, 28, and then increase in the last stitch for 29 and 30. So we've just gone from 24 stitches to 30, and we've got one more round of increases to do, and that will take us from 30 stitches to 36. So we're going to increase on multiples of 6 in every 5th stitch. So let's get going. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase for 5 and 6 in the next stitch, single crochet 7, 8, 9, 10, and increase in the next stitch for 11 and 12, single crochet 13, 14, 15, 16, and increase in the next stitch for 17 and 18, and then single crochet 19, 20, 21, 22, and then increase in the next stitch for 23, 24, single crochet 25, 26, 27, 28, increase in the next stitch for 29 and 30, and then single crochet 31, 32, 33, 34, and our last increase in the last stitch for 35 and 36. So that's all our increases done for now, and all we need to do next is to single crochet normally for 6 rounds. So we're just going to single crochet continuously around for 6 rounds. So if you're not very good at keeping count, I would put a stitch marker in this stitch, and you'll know that when you come back to this stitch in 6 rows, that's it complete. So I'll meet you back here when I've done my 6 rounds of single crochets. So I'm just coming up to with my last couple of stitches of grey. So that was 6 rounds of grey, and here's my last stitch, and I'm going to do a colour change to blue in this last stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch, yarn over in the current colour, which is grey, and pull through. I can then trim my grey off because we've finished with that for now, and then I'm going to bring in my blue with about a 4 to 5 inch tail, hook it and finish off the stitch in blue. Then I can take the tail of the blue and the grey, and I can hold them in the back and weave them in as I do my next couple of stitches. So in my first stitch of blue, I'm going to do a slip stitch, and then I'm going to do 1 single crochet, and that just helps make the colour change more smooth. You can then pull the tail ends tight. So the next thing we're going to do is 1 entire round with blue. So we're going to do 36 stitches around, all in blue, and for the first 3 stitches I'm going to weave in or hook as I go the tail ends to secure them. So I've got 36 stitches of blue, so that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. I'm going to drop my tail ends, then continue round as normal. 35, and our last stitch 36, and then we're going to do a colour change to white. So into the first stitch of the last round is where we're going to do the colour change. So if we insert our hook into the first stitch, make sure you don't go into the slip stitch that we made, but into the actual stitch. So into the first stitch, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull through. So we're doing what is called the invisible colour change method. We're going to snip the blue off. And the next colour we need is white. Bring in our white, hook the colour, pull through. And then bring both our tails into the back. And we're going to do a single crochet, well, a slip stitch and one single crochet into the first stitch. And then we can pull our tails tight. So now I can move my clip from up here, because now I need to do 16 rounds of white. So from our bloom, we need to go around and around and around 16 times. So once I've done that and I come to the end of my 16th row, I'll come back and I'll show you where we go from there. So I'm on to the last couple of stitches of my row 16. 34, 35 and 36. And we're going to be decreasing from this point, but we're not going to do that yet because there are some bits that we want to attach with safety clips to R2-D2 before the space of decreases get too small. So if you want, we should pull a long loop up, then we're going to put this to the side just for a moment. The next thing we're going to be making is what I call his eye patch, which is his eye at the front of his face. So to make that, we're going to slip knot with our blue yarn, and we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to, in the second chain from hook, we're going to single crochet 1, and in the next chain we're going to single crochet 1. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to single crochet across again. So 1 single crochet into each stitch, which will be 2, chain 1 and turn, and then what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet around the entire perimeter of our work. So we're going to do a single crochet into each of our crochets, and then to turn our work I'm going to do an extra 2 in the corner. So there are 3 single crochets in this corner stitch, which will allow me to turn the work so I can single crochet across this side. And when I get to the corner stitch again on this side, I'm going to do 3 single crochet in it. 1, 2 and 3. Allow me to turn my work, and then single crochet across to the next corner stitch, where I'll do another 3 single crochet to turn. And then the last side, single crochet down, and do 2 single crochet into the last stitch, and fasten off. So we can cut the work, leaving a tail to sew it. And into this eye patch, we're going to insert R2's safety eye and attach that to the grey part of him. So onto the opposite side of where the colour change was, we're going to take this and we're going to find a placement for it, and I think I'm going to use a bigger safety eye. So let's have a look at that's the same size. So I'm going to use instead, that's a 10mm, we'll try it with a 10mm. Insert it through again. And when you're happy, you can clip it into place. So I've got me safety eye back, turn my work inside out and attach my safety back. So I'm going to wait until after I've stuffed my work before I sew the perimeter of the blue down. So I'm just going to leave these tails long for now. And now that we've clipped the safety eye in, we can go back to the bottom of our work and we can begin our decrease rounds. And we can begin to stuff our R2-D2. So currently we have 36 stitches and we want to go down to 30 stitches. So we're going to decrease on every 5th stitch. So we're going to single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to decrease on 5 and 6, and I'm going to do this by only going into the front loop of each stitch. Front loop of the first stitch, front loop of the second stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So that was our 5th stitch. Single crochet for 6, 7, 8, 9, and we're going to decrease for our 10th stitch. So put your hook in the front loop only of the first stitch, front loop only of the second stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So that was 10. Single crochet for 11, 12, 13, 14, and decrease on 15. Single crochet for 16, 17, 18, 19, 19 again, 19 a third time, and decrease on 20. And then single crochet for 21, 22, 23, 24, decrease for 25, single crochet for 26, 27, 28, 29, and decrease for 30. Okie doke. So now we want to go from 30 stitches, which we currently have, to 24. And to do this, we're going to decrease on every 4th stitch. So I'm going to single crochet for 1, 2, 3, and decrease for 4. Doing a front loop only decrease. Decrease for 5, 6, 7, and decrease on 8. Single crochet for 9, 10, 11, decrease on 12, single crochet for 13, 14, 15, decrease for 16, single crochet for 17, 18, 19, and decrease for 20. Single crochet for 21, 22, 23, and decrease for 24. And now we're going to go from 24 stitches down to 18, which means we're going to decrease on every 3rd stitch. So I'm going to single crochet for 1, 2, and single crochet for 3, decrease for 3, single crochet 4 and 5, decrease for 6, single crochet for 7 and 8, decrease for 9, single crochet for 10 and 11, and decrease for 12, single crochet for 13 and 14, decrease for 15, and single crochet for 16 and 17, and decrease for 18. So it's now time to stuff our work. So I've got some of my polyfill here. I like to rip it up before I put it in so that it's not too bumpy. I'm going to stuff R2-D2. with a load of polyfill. We're still going to do one more decrease to close them up, but if we do it now before we stuff, we won't have any room to get the stuffing in. So make sure you really stuff them well. I feel like you give life to your amigurumi when you put the filling in them. You start to take shape. Have a check, make sure I'm happy. Yeah. I don't want to stuff the bottom too much because eventually we'll want him to sit with his legs. So I think that'll do it. So we can go back and do our last decrease round now. It's always a bit more difficult crocheting when you've stuffed your work. So just take your time. So now we're going to decrease from 18 stitches to 12. And we're going to do that by decreasing on every other stitch. So I'm going to single crochet 1 and decrease in 2. Single crochet 3 and decrease in 4. Single crochet 4, 5, decrease in 6. Single crochet in 7, decrease for 8. Single crochet in 9, decrease in 10, single crochet in 11 and decrease in 12. Oh, decrease in 12 again. Then we're going to do a slip stitch, chain, and we can fasten off the white. And all we have to do now is close up this hole. So if you take your embroidery needle, thread it with the tail of your yarn. And to close this hole up, I'm only going to pick up the outside loop of each stitch. So I'm going to go around just picking up the 12 outside loops, not the full stitch. Bent nose needle really helps with this. Nearly there. And then once I've collected all the outside loops, I'm going to pull and create a nice little fasten off so it looks nice and neat. I think if you finish with 6 stitches sometimes and sew them together, it doesn't look as neat as 12. So I'm now going to thread this needle around the work to secure the tie off and to weave in the end. And before snipping the work, you always want to pull down on the work a little bit and snip and then let go so that the tail is lost in your work. So you can see R2's coming together, so we've got his legs to do next and finish off the detail on his body. Now to make R2's head details, he has triangles that go around the top of his head. So we need to make 5 of these in total, so I've made 4. I haven't sewn them on yet, I've just pinned them on, and I'm going to show you how to make the 5th one, and then you just rewind and make it 5 more times. So with our blue yarn, we're going to do a slip knot onto hook and chain 2, 1 and 2. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets in the second chain from hook. That's 1 and 2, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to do 2 single crochets into each of the stitches we just made. So that's 1, 2, and then into the second stitch, 3 and 4. So I'm going to chain 1 and cut the work, and that's how you make the triangles for his head. And if we bring the headpiece back, we position the triangle where we want it and pop a pin in to check for placement. Now I used the centre mark on his head to help me place these, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew everything down. So with my bent nose embroidery needle, I'm going to pick up the longer tail from the triangles we've made, thread my needle, and then I'm going to sew them into place by picking up the stitch beneath the part of the triangle that I want and coming up through the triangle. I'm going to do that all the way up the side, so picking up the stitch just beneath. I'm trying to do this so I can see it and the camera can see it. Well, you definitely couldn't see that. So down the last side. Okay, so I've sewn this triangle on. I'm going to remove the pin because it's no longer needed, and then I'm going to thread my yarn to the opposite side of the work, both tails, and there's one triangle sewn on, and we've got the ends coming through the back of the work so I can snip them off. So there's the 2 ends, so I can snip them both away. So I'm going to sew all the triangles on the same way, and I'm also going to sew the square eye patch on into place, and then we'll come back and we'll do his body details. So finished sewing his head on, his head parts and his eye patch. So now we're going to look at doing the body detail. So the first thing we need to do is to make a hook on make a slip stitch on our hook, and we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And in the second chain from hook, we're going to single crochet 1 and then single crochet across in all the chains. So we should have 5 single crochets at the end. 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then we're going to fasten off. Let's cut our work off. So we have 5 single crochets in this piece. We're now going to create another line, if you like, but this is going to be made from a chain 9. So we're going to chain 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and in the second chain from hook, going to single crochet 1 and then single crochet in all other chains. So this will give us a line with 8 single crochet in it, and we need to make this one twice. So we need 1 piece with 5 single crochet and 2 pieces with 8 single crochet. So I've got to the top of that. I'm going to fasten off and snip our work. So I already made a second row of 9 earlier. So how these are going to be positioned on his body is R2 has 2 blue bands at the top. 1. So I'm just going to pin everything into place before, just get some pins. I'm going to pin everything into place before we start sewing. Then he has the second band just underneath the first. Make sure there's a little bit of room between the two. And the small one of the 5 single crochet runs down the middle. So now we're going to sew all these bands into place, and I'm going to do that by taking the long tail, the long cut off tail, and I'm going to sew round the perimeter of each one. Okay, so I'll be back when I've attached all of these and we'll finish his body off. So let's finish off the body detail. We're going to need a long piece of grey yarn, and we're going to embroider the rest of the detail onto R2. So the first thing is we're going to do a rectangle, a grey rectangle at the side of the bottom blue bit. So I'm going to come in from the back somewhere. I'll weave that in at the end. And I'm going to do a straight line down. I'm going to go 2 stitches to the right. And then back up to the top. I suppose this is going to represent the buttons and the electro pads that he has on him. So that is the first grey part done. We're going to do 3 lines over the opposite side. So I'm going to bring my needle out where I want to do the first of the 3 lines, and it's just 3 horizontal lines. So that's 1, or it will be 1, 2, and 3. And the last thing is to make a very small grey rectangular box at the bottom. So let's make the legs. We're going to start with a slip knot onto our hook, and we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then we're going to single crochet in the second chain from hook, and then in the next 3 chains we're just going to single crochet. So that's 1, 2 and 3. And in the last chain we're going to do 3 single crochet. So 1, 2 and 3. So I rotated my work there instead of turning it, and we're going to work now along the back side of the foundation stitches. So we've just single crocheted up this side, 3 single crochet at the end, and then we're going to work down the opposite side of our foundation chain, and we're going to do 3 single crochet. 1, 2 and 3, and into the last stitch on this end we're going to do 2 single crochets. So this was the first single crochet of our previous round, and we're going to do another 2 in that. 1 and 2. So we've now got 12 stitches working in the round, and we're going to increase these stitches to 18. So in the first stitch we're not going to fasten off and chain, we're not going to join and chain 1, we're going to just continue to work in a spiral. So into the first stitch of the first round we're going to do 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. then we're going to single crochet 1 into the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2 and 3, and then into the next 3 stitches I'm going to do 2 single crochet, so 2 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So that's 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And then we're going to do 3 more single crochets. So in the next 3 stitches we're just going to do 1 single crochet. 1, 2 and 3. And in the last 2 stitches we're going to do 2 single crochet into each of the last 2 stitches. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we've just increased from 12 stitches to 18 and we're not going to increase anymore. And so for the next 2 rows I'm just going to single round without increasing. So I'm going to do 18 single crochets twice. So I'm just coming up to my last stitches. So that was 18 single crochets on my second round, and we've made his foot. And what we want to do now is reduce from 18 stitches to 12 stitches. So we're going to decrease on every other stitch. So we're going to single crochet 1, single crochet 2 together, and we're going to do that 6 times. So we're going to single crochet 1 and then single crochet together through the front loops only. So that's 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. So we've just reduced from 18 stitches to 12, and we're going to work around repeatedly for 6 rows. So we're just going to single crochet around 6 times. So you can put a clip marker in here if you have trouble with row counts. If not, I'll meet you back here once I've done my 6th round. I'm just coming up to the last couple of stitches on my 6th row. And then we're going to do another decrease round, but before I do that I'm going to stuff the part that I've done so far. So here's my last stitch. I'm just going to pull that loop through, get my stuffing, and I like to use a pen when I'm stuffing into tight spaces. And I'm going to push that stuffing into the foot and just fill up basically what I've done so far. So it's time for our decreases, and we're going to decrease from 12 to 9 stitches, and we're going to do this by single crocheting in 2 stitches and then single crocheting 2 together, and we're going to do that 3 times, and that will reduce us from 12 to 9. So I'm going to single crochet in 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then single crochet 2 together. And we're going to do that 3 times. So that was 1, 2 and 3. So we've now, or will very shortly have 9 stitches, and we're going to single crochet around for 5 rows. There we go. So I'm just going to single crochet repeatedly around for 5 rows. So I'm coming up to the last couple of stitches of my 5th row of 9 stitches. There we go. I'm going to again stuff what I've just done of the leg so far. So I'm going to pull my loop through so I don't lose my stitch. So maybe a little bit more. The things you have to do to get your work right. There we go. And what we're going to do now is our last round of decrease, and we're going to go from 9 stitches to 6 stitches, and we're going to do this by single crocheting 1 and single crocheting 2 together 3 times. So single crocheting 1 and single crocheting 2 together 3 times. So that's 1 and 2 and the last one and 3. The smaller your work gets, the harder it can be to make your stitches. So I'm going to slip stitch in and fasten off. I'm going to leave a little bit of, well, quite a long, about 10-inch tail, because when I finish the leg I'll use the tail to sew this leg onto R2's body. So I'm just going to use an embroidery needle, and as we did at the bottom of R2, we're going to just hook the outside of each of these stitches. So the out loop, the front loop only, I'm going to pick them up and it'll close our work in. And then I'm going to take the yarn down a little bit and bring it out just at the side, because that's the position I'm going to want it in to attach it to R2's body. So let's make the leg details next. So now with our navy yarn, we're going to slip knot onto our hook and we're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Then I'm going to single crochet 1 in the second chain from hook, and I'm going to single crochet across in all remaining chains. 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Then I'm going to fasten off. Leaving a tail to sew this onto the leg. So I'm going to position it in the middle of my leg and pin it. Check I'm happy with where it sits. There we go. And I'm going to use my long tail to sew this all the way around and attach it on. Okey-doke. And then with our grey yarn, if we cut a long piece of grey yarn again, and thread our needle, going to come in from the back, and I'm going to do one line going up to the same height as the bloom, and coming out the same width as the opposite side. So if you can see that. Then we're going to do the same going down the opposite side. There we go. So the last thing we're going to do is just weave our ends around for a little bit and then cut them off and make this leg all over again for the opposite side. So in the description I will add a timestamp for the beginning of the foot so that you can go and make the second foot. Oh, okay, that's where you want to lie. So I've sewn one leg on and we've got to put the second leg on. So I just saved it to show you how I did it. So R2 leans back slightly, as we know. So you want his legs to be slightly off-centered. You don't want them to go straight down, you just want them to be slightly off-centered. So I put the leg where I want it to go. And then I use my pins to stabilise it. And then with the long tail that I left, I'm going to sew the leg on. I'm going to do that by going around the perimeter of the leg. So hopefully you'll be able to see. I'm going to take a stitch from the body and a stitch from the leg. You can really attach them, however, whatever method you prefer of sewing. But I like to go around the outside, and then I like to do a few stitches going through the body also. So just sew round. Now I've got the top of the leg in. I'm going to go into the leg and out at various parts of the body. And you do this throughout the leg. I hope you can see what I'm saying better than I'm explaining it, because I'm not really sure the best way of describing this to you. But basically I'm going through the leg and then into the body. Through the leg. So you can see I'm going back in where my yarn come out. And then through the leg at the bottom. And back through the body. So when you're happy that your leg's secure, you can get your needle out. There we go. Weave your needle, weave your ends in. Trim. And there you have completed R2-D2. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'd be grateful if you could leave a like. Head over to Instagram at Teenie Crochet's and you'll see more future projects that I'll be doing, or even head over to Ravelry, and on Ravelry you have a chance to purchase some patterns, and the support is I'm very grateful for the support should you do that. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.